بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلوات الله وسلامه عليه أما بعد. يقول الإمام أحمد بن محمد بن حنبل رحمه الله تعالى: والقرآن كلام الله وليس بمخلوق، ولا يضعف أن يقول ليس بمخلوق. قال: فإن كلام الله ليس ببائن منه وليس منه شيء مخلوق، وإياك ومناظرة من أحدث فيه ومن قال باللفظ وغيره ومن وقف فيه فقال لا أدري مخلوق أو ليس بمخلوق وإنما هو كلام الله، فهذا صاحب بدعة مثل من قال هو مخلوق وإنما هو كلام الله ليس بمخلوق. Today, inshallah ta'ala, is the fifth lesson, Ikhwani, of the book Usool as-Sunnah by the Imam of Ahlus-Sunnah wal Judgement, Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal, rahimullah ta'ala. And we are past the halfway point, inshallah, so we should be able to complete the book in the allotted time that has been given to us. We come to one of the important issues that there was a lot of ikhtilaf with the people in the past against the people who Imam Ahmad was supporting, people of al-Hadith, al-Sunnah. As a matter of fact, this issue right here is one of the main issues in the life of Imam Ahmad rahimahullah ta'ala that gave him the illustrious, distinct position of being called the Imam of Ahlus-Sunnah. That's because he was punished for this issue. He was punished by the Khalifa of that time, al-Ma'mun, and he was put to some severe trials and tribulations. So he punished so bad that he used to lose consciousness. And then after al-Ma'mun came al-Mutawakkil, who also was punishing al-Imam Ahmad because of the position and the power of the people of al-Bid'ah and Ahwa. They were the people who were from the Batana of the Khalifa of that time. The ones who were advising the leader, they were the people of innovation, deviance, the people of philosophy. Before the companions radiallahu anhum, this issue was not heard of. This issue wasn't heard of. They didn't talk about, is the Quran created, is the Quran not created. So as Abdullah ibn Mas'ud used to tell the people, follow what they gave you and don't innovate. What they left for you is more than enough, is sufficient. And that's what Imam Ahmad used to say to the Khalifa. And that's what Imam Ahmad used to say to the ulama who used to come to argue with him and to make the munadhara. They wanted to debate him. And he debated them because he had to make the truth clear. He used to say to those people, did Abu Bakr and Umar and Uthman and Ali, did they say this issue? The person would obviously say no. He would say, then if they didn't talk about it and delve into it, why are you talking about it and why are you delving into it? That was one of his main arguments before he even dealt with how the Quran supports the kalam of Allah and how the Sunnah supports the kalam of Allah. So anyway, this issue is an issue from a long time ago. But even till today, you have some people who are still of this opinion. Some people are still of this opinion. They support it, they are on it, and they call to it. And some people indirectly, not knowing some of the tafsir that they give of the Quran, like in the Dilal Quran to Sayyid Qutb, rahimahullah ta'ala. وَغَفَرَ اللَّهُ لَنَا وَلَكُمْ لَهُ. In the tafsir of certain ayat in Surah Al-Taha, this ideology was supported by him. So the point here is, as we mentioned in the beginning of the book, the very first fundamental that Imam Ahmad called the people to in this book is to hold on to what those companions were upon, radiyallahu anhum ajma'in. So he said that the Quran is the kalam of Allah, and it is not created. And a person should not be afraid, and he shouldn't be weak, and he shouldn't be afraid to say that the Quran is not created. But instead, it is the speech of Allah, and it is not separate from Him. It's not backing from Him. It is a characteristic from His characteristics. He went on to say that you should beware of arguing with people who are saying that the Quran is created. Don't debate them. Don't make the munadhara in this issue. Don't do it. And also, the person who says, I love, don't debate them and don't argue with them. He said, verily, the person who says the love and the person who makes al-waqf, all of them, there's a problem. Waqf, the one who says, I don't know if it's created, and I don't know if it's not created, I don't know. I'm going to just stop there. I don't know. Created, not created, I don't have an opinion. Allah knows best. And Imam Ahmad said, the one who says this is also an innovator, just like the one who said that it is created, because all of it is the kalam of Allah. He mentioned a number of things in this short passage right here. First of all, he's making it clear, rahimullah ta'ala, that from the Aqeedah of Ahlus-Sunnah, from what he believed in, and he was one of the ulama of al-Hadith, he was Amirul Mu'mineen fil Hadith, is that the people of the Aqeedah of the companions are of the opinion that the Quran is the kalam of Allah. In many books like this, some of the scholars say, Minhu bada'a wa ilayhi ya'ud. From Allah, the Quran, it originated, it came from Him, and it's going to go back to Him. Imam Ahmad didn't mention that here, but he mentioned that in many other places. The ta'rif of the Quran, scholars said, what is the Quran? What is the definition of the Quran? They said that the Quran is the kalam of Allah, consists of four things. Kalam of Allah, that was revealed on Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and it came down to him in the way of at-tawatur. Many people memorized it. Many people held on to it. And its recitation is ibadah. That's the kalam of Allah. That's the Quran, the definition of the Quran. Kalamullah al-munazzal ala Muhammad, that came down to Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and it's been transmitted to the people with a tawatur, and its recitation is ibadah. Since it's the kalam of Allah, it excludes it from being the kalam of anybody else. It's not the kalam of the jinn, it's not the kalam of the angel, it's not the kalam of Rasulullah Muhammad, it's not the kalam of any bashar, it's the kalam of Allah Azza wa Jalla. Allah Ta'ala told the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, قُلْ لَإِنِ اجْتَمَعَتِ الْإِنسُ وَالْجِنُّ عَلَىٰ أَنْ يَأْتُوا بِمِثْلِ هَذَا الْقُرْآنِ لا يأتون بمثله ولو كان بعضهم لبعض ظهيرا. Tell them, if all of the jinn and all of the mankind came together to produce this Quran, they would never be able to produce it even if they tried to help each other. All of the jinn, all of Bani Adam, all of the malaika, if they came together to try to produce one ayah, 10 ayah, they're not going to be able to do it. So that goes to show it's the kalam of Allah. Allah, He's the one who spoke the Quran. He's the one who revealed the Quran. And that Quran, as you all know, it was revealed on al-Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. It wasn't revealed on Ali. It wasn't revealed on Fatima. It was revealed on Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and it's the kalam of Allah. He told the Nabi in the Quran, وَإِنْ أَحَدٌ مِّنَ الْمُشْرِكِينَ اسْتَجَارَكَ أَجِرْهُ حَتَّى يَسْمَعْ كَلَامُ اللَّهِ. Ya Muhammad, if one of the mushrikeen, if they come and they want you to protect them, then protect them from the other kuffar. He comes as a non-Muslim and he says, give me your protection, Ya Muhammad, protect me from the kuffar. Allah said, give him your protection, give him the contract, so that he can hear the kalam of Allah. You give them protection and you start reading the Quran and teaching them the Quran. Although the Quran is coming from you, you're reading the Quran, it's still called the Kalam of Allah based upon that ayah. So ikhwan, the people who came with this argument, they're the people who got away from, again, the very first point that Imam Ahmad mentioned. If we stick to the first point, you're going to be okay in your religion. Did the companions say that? Did the companions do that? Did the companions call to that? What is the problem that people would have with that question? If the companions didn't do it, it's not for us to do. If it's in the deen. As for the dunya, do what you want to do in the dunya. Most of what we're doing today, the companions didn't do. They didn't have the ability to do it. But in the deen, what was the deen for them is the deen for us. What was not the deen for them was not the deen for us. So look what the people came and they said. When people started to enter into the religion, again, from the non-Arabs, from the Persians, people were affected by the philosophy of the Greeks. People were affected by the different philosophical ideas. When people started to let their minds go crazy, they started making this philosophical mas'ala. They said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He doesn't speak. Because if Allah were to speak, then it would mean that He has to have teeth, He has to have a tongue, He has to have a larynx, He has to have a voice box. And Allah said in the Quran, لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٌ. So they said Allah doesn't speak. And that kind of kalam, wallahi akhwani, the revert to Islam, my mother, if she came into Islam, she accepted Islam, she's never going to come up with that idea on her own. Only when people bring that nonsense is she going to start believing in it or disbelieving in it. Because it's complicated, it's difficult. It doesn't go along with what's natural in the fitrah. And that's why you don't find the companions talking like that. Ya Rasulullah, is the Quran created or not created? Not one of them put forth that question. It came when? It came 300 years after the Nabi, 200 years after the Nabi, when the people who were affected by the philosophy of Socrates and Aristotle and all of that, they were the ones who started to say, look, Allah, He has these characteristics. No. If Allah speaks, then it necessitates that He's like human beings. If Allah has a hand, then it necessitates that He's like human beings. The companions didn't do that. Allah said He had two hands. The companions stopped it. They believed it. You don't have any discussion. The qadr of Allah, they heard it. They believed it. You don't have any discussion. And Imam Ahmad and those scholars like him, they had to come later on to explain to the Muslims, don't believe in this, and don't delve into it, and don't debate about it, because it's a form of kufr. As the Nabi said, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, al-mira'u fil Qur'an, kufrun. Debating and arguing about the Qur'an, debating and arguing, going over and just arguing, he said this is a form of kufr, because it will cause a person to start doubting what's the reality of the Quran, what's the reality of the message of the Quran. So he, rahimullah ta'ala, he went on and he mentioned that the Quran is the kalam of Allah. We shouldn't say, my recitation of the Quran is created, because some people said that. Some people took one extreme. The extreme is, the kalam of Allah is created. And then another group of people came and said, okay, we're not going to say that. I'm going to say that my recitation of the Quran is created, and that's because Allah Ta'ala, He created everything that we do. Again, philosophy. So he said, I don't say the Quran is created, but my kalam, when I read it, that's created. The other one, he came and he said, I'm not going to say it's created, I'm not going to say it's not created. And Imam Ahmad is mentioning all three of them. He said, this one, innovation. This one, innovation. This one, innovation. All of those things are not supported by the Quran and the Sunnah, and all of those things, those statements, those positions, the companions were not upon them. None of them. The Mu'tazila came up with this nonsense. These people who were affected by the Mu'tazila came up with this nonsense. The ones who were affected by them came up with that nonsense. All of it is rejected. We just say it's the kalam of Allah. From Him it began, and to Him it will return. What's the meaning of that? The Nabi said in an authentic hadith, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, al-abd lan يَعْبُدُ اللَّهَ بِخَيْرٍ مِمَّا خَرَجَ مِنْهُ. The slave is not going to worship Allah with that which is better than that which came from him. Meaning, the Quran. The best way that you can worship Allah Azza wa Jal is by reading the Quran, by practicing the Quran, by calling to the Quran, by defending the Quran, by teaching the Quran, by learning the Quran. Anyone wants to get close to Allah? The best way to get close to Allah is by that which came from Him. That's a dalil that the Quran came from Allah Azza wa Jal. And to Him is going to return. And the Nabi told us, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, about a time that's quickly approaching, when he said, يَدْرُسُ الْإِسْلَامِ كَمَا يَدْرُسُ وَشْحُ الثَّوْبِ حَتَّى لَا يُدْرَى مَا صِيَامٌ وَلَا صَلَاةٌ وَلَا سُكْنٌ وَلَا نُسُكٌ وَلَا صَدَقَةٌ وَيُسْرَى عَلَى كِتَابِ اللَّهِ فِي لَيْلَةٍ حَتَّى لَا يَبْقَى فِي الْأَرْضِ مِنْهُ آيَةٌ. He said, Al-Islam is going to disappear the same way the embroidery or the ink in your clothes fades away. It's going to fade away little by little by little by little by little, and it will continue to fade away until the point that the Muslims are not going to know what is salah, what is sawm, what is hajj, what is sadaqah. People won't even know what salah is. He said, and then one day the Quran is going to be raised up and taken from the earth, to the point that there won't be in the earth one ayah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, no one will know that ayah. Yasin, no one will know that ayah. Afillahi shak, no one will know that ayah. All of the Quran will be taken up and it will go back to Allah. Yawm al-Qiyamah, the end of time. This is going to be the condition. So that's the meaning that those scholars used to give. Minhu bada'a wa ilayhi ya'ud. The Quran comes from Allah. He sent it down and it's going to return to Allah. It's not created, and you shouldn't be afraid, you shouldn't be hesitant to tell people it's the kalam of Allah and it's not created. As Imam Ahl said, he said, La yad'uf an yaqul laysa bimakhluq. And that's what Allah Ta'ala commanded the Muslims in the Quran. Fasda' bima tu'mar. Go forth and tell what you've been commanded to tell. So what did the Nabi do? Allah told him, go forth and carry this message and do what you've been ordered. Don't be afraid of the people. You've been ordered. You're mukallaf, go forth and call to what you've been commanded to call to. So the Nabi stood in front of the people and he said to the people, is there anyone who will help me to spread the kalam of my Lord? Is there anyone from amongst you, Abu Bakr, Uthman, Abu Jahl, Abu Lahab? Anyone from amongst you want to help me to spread the kalam of my Lord? He called it the kalam of his Lord. He didn't say my kalam, the kalam of Jibreel, the kalam of the malaika. He said the kalam of Allah. So a person shouldn't be afraid to command with al-ma'ruf and to prohibit and prevent the munkar. And part of that obviously is holding on to our religion, not apologizing. Because we want to come to an issue that I think is important for us to address today, inshallah ta'ala. So concerning this particular issue, some of the proofs that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks, and when He speaks in a way that befits His majesty. His kalam is not like your kalam. His coming down is not like your coming down. His knowledge, His rahmah is not like yours. Allah Azza wa Jal, He has characteristics. Human beings have characteristics. Even though the characteristics of Allah, the words are the same as our characteristics. You have hands, you speak, you can come down. The way we do these things are not the way that Allah Ta'ala do these things. We just eat, we just say, Allah has that thing, that characteristic, and He knows best what's the reality. So Allah Ta'ala mentioned in the Quran, وَكَلَّمَ اللَّهُ مُوسَى تَكْلِيمًا. Verily Allah spoke to Musa in the Arabic language. وَكَلَّمَ اللَّهُ مُوسَى تَكْلِيمًا تَكْلِيمًا تَكْلِيمًا. Why is it mansoob? Why didn't it say وَكَلَّمَ اللَّهُ مُوسَى تَكْلِيمًا? Or why didn't it just say وَكَلَّمَ اللَّهُ مُوسَى? Allah could have just said that. But He said وَكَلَّمَ اللَّهُ مُوسَى تَكْلِيمًا, to put emphasis. It's a masdar to show that this thing really happened. To show emphasis so that there will be no doubt. وَلَمَّا جَاءَ مُوسَى لِمِيقَاتِنَا وَكَلَّمَهُ رَبُّهُ. When Musa came to the meeting place, Allah spoke to him. He spoke to him. So Allah Azza wa Jal, He speaks. وَمِنْهُمْ مَنْ كَلَّمَ اللَّهِ. From the prophets, from the messengers, are those who Allah spoke to them. The Nabi told us, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, said Bukhari Muslim, that Allah Ta'ala, inna Allah idha ahabba al-abd nada ya Jibreel inni uhibbu fulanan fahibbuhu fayuhibbuhu Jibreel thumma yunadi Jibreel fi as-sama'i inna Allah yuhibbu fulanan fahibbuhu fayuhibbuhu Ahlus-Sunnah yani al-malaika. If Allah loves someone in the earth, Allah loves someone in the earth, Allah calls out to Jibreel, Ya Jibreel, I love so-and-so, so I want you to love him. And then Jibreel starts to love that individual. And then Jibreel calls out to the angels in the heavens, verily Allah loves so-and-so. And then the malaika will start to love that individual. And then Allah will put the love of the people of the earth for that individual. The point here is, the hadith goes to show that Allah Azza wa Jal, He calls out to Jibreel with a nida. Ya Jibreel. The people said, no, Allah doesn't speak. What is happening is that Allah, He creates an understanding in the intellect or the mind of the listener. And all of that comes from philosophy. That's all it comes from. The Greeks, the Persians, and other than that. The Muslims were on the Sirat al-Mustaqim when they didn't borrow all of that nonsense. And the crazy thing is, today, we still have people like that who use the intellect in the wrong way. So Imam Ahmad, rahimullah ta'ala, is supporting this particular point and proving that this is a point that the scholars of the Sunnah were upon. For your information. And Imam al-Bukhari, rahimahullah ta'ala, was in his life thrown into a fitna because of this issue. He went to a country where Al-Imam Muslim was from, called Naysabur. And when they sat with Al-Imam al-Bukhari, the big scholars of that time, they were jealous that Al-Imam al-Bukhari had the level of knowledge and the ability to memorize the way that he had. And there was jealousy between the people of knowledge. So for those of you who are students, never forget, like Al-Imam Sufyan al-Thawri said, he said, knowledge, al-ilm, it has tughyan and dhulm, just like al-mal. This man over here, he has a shop for halal meat. And over here, he has a shop for halal meat. When you go over there, you say, how much is this? A kilo of khuruf, kilo. He says, this much. You say, man, it costs less over there. He says, his meat is not halal. His meat is not halal. And he'll say his meat is not halal because they're in competition. It's the dunya. And Imam Sufyan al-Thawri said, al-ilm is just like that. This sheikh is jealous of that sheikh. That speaker is jealous of that speaker. This qari is jealous of that qari. So that's Bani Adam. Not everyone is like that, but in the circle of knowledge, people of knowledge have this problem. So when Imam al-Bukhari came, they saw he was a mu'jiza. Some of the people, they became upset with him, and they started to warn the people. And they said, Imam al-Bukhari, he's an innovator. Just ask him about this issue of the Quran. Just ask him. And Imam al-Bukhari knew, whatever answer he gives, there's going to be a problem. There's going to be a problem. Someone asked him, is your recitation of the Quran created? When we read the Quran, is that created? He said, yes, your recitation of the Quran is created. Because Allah Ta'ala mentioned in the Quran that He created you and what you do. They went back and said, Imam al-Bukhari, he believes that the Quran is our recitation that's created. He didn't ask him that question. So Imam al-Bukhari had a lot of problems. So people came against him, and he had to leave that place, and he was thrown off his horse, and that's how he finally died. Rahimullah ta'ala. So you may read that Imam al-Bukhari believed this, and that's not true. That's not true. He was asked a specific question, and he answered. Imam al-Bukhari was the opinion that the Quran is the kalam of Allah, and all you have to do is go to his Sahih, his book, Sahih al-Bukhari, and another book he wrote is called Kitab Khalq Af'al al-Ibad, and it's a refutation against this stuff. Anyway, how do we know that the Quran is not created? Number of issues. Allah Azza wa Jal, the Nabi taught us, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and what was collected by the Imam Muslim, on the authority of that tremendous lady, that companion, Khawla bintu Hakim. She said that the Nabi said, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, من نزل منزلا ثم قال أعوذ بكلمات الله التامات من شر ما خلق لم يضره شيء حتى يرتحل من منزله ذلك. Anyone who comes to a place, he's traveling and he stops at a place, the masjid, he stops at a house, he was going from point A to point B, from his home to his job. Anyone who goes to a manzil, and when he gets to that manzil, he makes a dua. أعوذ بكلمات الله التامات. I seek refuge in the perfect words of Allah. Anyone who says that dua, nothing is going to hurt him in that place. So he leaves the masjid, he goes home. He says, أعوذ بكلمات الله التامات. I seek refuge in the perfect words of Allah. The Nabi said, nothing will hurt him in that place. So that dua is a dua. You have a muqabala, you have an interview, you're afraid of the situation. That's one of the du'as that can help you. But you shouldn't just use that dua when there's a problem. Anytime you go from point A to B, there's a dua. If you want to be protected, you say it. Also, he says, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the same dua will give you another benefit, a specific benefit. قال صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وسلم من أمسى ثم قال 3 مرات أعوذ بكلمات الله التامات فلم تضره حمة لن تضره حمة تلك الليلة. Anyone, when Maghrib time comes, after Maghrib time, if you say the same dua, أعوذ بكلمات الله التامات, the Nabi said the scorpion won't be able to harm him. He won't be harmed by a scorpion. Abdullah ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, in Sahih Bukhari, the hadith, the Nabi told us, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, used to take his 2 grandsons, Al-Hasan and Hussein, and he would read on them and he would say, يُعِيذُكُمَا بِكَلِمَاتِ اللَّهِ التَّامَّةِ مِنْ كُلِّ شَيْطَانٍ وَهَامَّةٍ وَمِنْ كُلِّ عَيْنٍ لَامَّةٍ. I seek refuge in you 2 people in the perfect words of Allah, from every shaitan, and from every evil eye, and from every poisonous reptile, and from every harmful rodent. He said, your father Ibrahim, he used to get protection for Ishaq and Ismail with this dua. Those 3 dua, ikhwani, they go to show that, and Imam al-Bukhari believed that the Quran was the kalam of Allah, and it also proves that the Quran is the kalam of Allah. And that is because in Sahih Bukhari, and Imam Bukhari brought that last hadith that I mentioned about Hassan and Hussein. I seek refuge in the perfect words of Allah. In the perfect words of Allah. Al-Isti'adha billah. And Imam Bukhari put in the Kitab of Tawheed in the Sahih Bukhari, and he said, Bab min al-shirk al-isti'adha bi ghayrillah. Min al-shirk al-isti'adha bi ghayrillah. He put that ayat, that hadith, يُعِيذُكُمَا بِكَلِمَاتِ اللَّهِ التَّامَّةِ. What did he mean by that? If you want to seek refuge in Allah Azza wa Jal from evil, the jinn, magic, evil eye, someone's harm, you have to seek refuge in Allah. You can't seek refuge in the jinn, like in Surah Al-Jinn, وَأَنَّهُ كَانَ رِجَالًا يُرْهَبُونَ بِرِجَالٍ مِنَ الْجِنِّ. You can't seek refuge in the jinn. That's shirk, to make isti'adha in magic, the jinn, the angels, the human being. The only one you can seek refuge in and with is Allah Azza wa Jalla. And the Quran and His words are from those issues. If it was permissible, the Quran was created. If the Quran was created, then the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was teaching the people to seek refuge in other than Allah, to seek refuge in a created thing, and that issue is shirkun with the ittifaq of the ulama wa mu'tabirin. So those are some of the adillah that the ulama of the Sunnah use, and I want to address an issue now. And I think it's our responsibility in the masjid to address these types of issues, to free ourselves from responsibility, and to shed light on the situation, and also to warn about falling into it. It's the responsibility of our masjids. Concerning the Quran, Muslims have to not apologize about the Quran, and we have to believe in the Quran, and we have to give nasiha to the Quran. And part of a nasiha to the book of Allah is to believe that it's from Allah. It's the kalam of Allah. It's not muharraf. It is worth our time, our effort to memorize, to defend, to spread it, and not to apologize about a single harf that's in the Quran. Not a single thing that the Quran says. Not a single one. Your mother doesn't like it, your father, the government doesn't like it, whoever doesn't like it, that's their problem. But we have to have hikmah, we have to be balanced in being on that concept. Not permissible to be apologetic. This is the deen of Allah Azza wa Jal, and it's our responsibilities to hear and we obey. I think many of you who are exposed to the internet, to social network like Facebook, Twitter, other than that, you become aware of what happened recently where our sister from Cardiff was accused and found guilty of murdering her son because he didn't memorize passages of the Quran. How many of you heard about that? It's well known. It went viral. Everybody heard about it. So the few points we want to make about that issue in relationship to this. Because what's the benefit of learning the books of the past and our minds are still in the past? The reason why we learn these things, even if sometimes the thing is not present, the problem is not present exactly the way it was present back then, still aspects of it are present. Went to a masjid one time, the imam was given a khutbah in which he was reading off of a piece of paper. He's ajami, like me, ajami. He's reading a khutbah that was written in Arabic. And he said, and the Khalifa Harun al-Rashid, ما زال يرى المنكر في شوارع بغداد. And he was reading a khutbah that was written over 1,000 years ago during the time of Harun al-Rashid. And he didn't even change the thing. We don't want to live during the time of that. Giving us a khutbah of Harun al-Rashid. We need khutbahs today that address our issues, our wives, our children, our status, and so forth and so on. So concerning that lady, Ikhwani, the first thing that we want to mention is, in al-Islam, some people are hit, are chastised by being hit. We can't get away from that. If we try to get away from that, the person who's against Islam is going to catch you, and you can't say anything because the text is there. Allah, in this religion, allow some people to be hit. As you all know, muru awladakum bis-salat wa hum abna' 7 sinin wadribuhum 'alayha wa hum abna' 10. Tell your children, encourage them, make salat when they're 7. When they become 10, then chastise them. If they don't make it, then you can hit them. That's a hadith. Bukhari and Muslim. Can't get away from that. You can't get away from that. Inside Bukhari, there's a companion. His name is al-Harith ibn Uqba. Al-Harith or Uqba ibn al-Harith. He said that there was a man, al-Nu'man. He was drinking during the time of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He was drunk. So the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam came to the house, smelt him, and he found, yes, the man is drunk. So the Nabi told the people in the house, everyone in the house, hit him with the shoes and hit him with the leaf, the branches from the dates. But now the Rawi of the Hadith said, I was one of the people who was hitting him with the shoe. Umar radiallahu anhu, the statement of the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, إِنَّ الْمَيِّتِ لَيُعَذَّبْ بِبُكَاءِ الْحَيِّ. The dead person will be punished because of the crying of the living. The meaning of that is if the dead person told his relatives, when I die, I want you to cry and go crazy. Show the people that you love me. Because he was directly responsible for that behavior, he's going to be punished. Another meaning of it is, if the dead person didn't teach his family, he left them ignorant. He didn't tell them, this is the etiquette of the janazah. Don't do this, don't do it. If he didn't do it, because of his taqseer, his ihmal, he's going to be punished. Umar radiallahu anhu, if he saw someone screaming over the dead, if he saw someone wailing, doing niyah, if he saw that, he would take a stick and he would hit him. He would take dirt, he would throw him. He didn't hit him with the stick or throw dirt on him to increase the huzn. No, it was to wake the person up. Hey, you're acting like that is against the Sunnah. You're acting like that will cause this man to be punished. You're acting like that is against the qadr. You have a problem with the qadr of Allah? This is from the qadr of Allah. So Umar radiallahu anhu used to hit people with the stick. He's one of the people that the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam told us, اقتدوا بالذين من بعدي. Follow the two after me. Umar. So the Salaf used to hit people who went crazy over the dead. Mujahid ibn Jabr, he's the one who took the Quran from the Tabi'een. He said that the companions, they used to tie our feet up. When we were young, they would tie our feet up so that we would sit there and we would stay still. And they used to hit us if we broke our promise, and if we said, Wallahi, Wallahi, they would give the tarbiyah to the child. Don't break your promise. Don't always say, Wallahi, Wallahi, Wallahi. You can't get away from that. They would tie the feet up, sit down, concentrate, pay attention, learn the Quran. That happened. Allah mentioned in the Quran, وَاللَّاتِ تَخَافُونَ النُّشُوزُهُنَّ فَعِذُهُنَّ وَاهْجُرُهُنَّ فِي الْمَضَاجِعِ وَاضْرِبُوهُنَّ. The husband, if your wife, if you fear from her bad behavior, disobedience, then warn her. Give her words. If that doesn't work, then separate yourself from her in the bed. Don't have relationships with her. Stay in the house, but don't have relationships. Don't sleep with her. And if that doesn't work, then hit her. Those ayat, hadith, incidents, and there are many more that go to show in our religion, some people have been allowed to hit other people, to chastise other people. I don't deny that. I don't deny that. And you can't deny it. But it's been explained. What's the hitting? It's been explained. When they asked him to be, what kind of hitting is that we can do? He said it's the hitting that is ghayr mubarrih. It's the hitting that doesn't leave any mark. If the person is light-skinned like this brother, you hit him, or you hit the child, you hit the wife, someone like this kind of skin, a white person, you hit him, it's not going to leave a red mark. You hit him with the belt, it's going to leave, no, that's haram. Hit him with that belt is haram, because it's going to leave that mark. He said it's the hitting that doesn't break the bone. And in the nose, broke her nose. Yeah. It's the hitting that doesn't shatter the spirit. It doesn't shatter the spirit. The Nabi said, don't any of you hit your wife like a slave, and then you come at the end of the night to have relationships with her. You hit her like a slave. She's not saying, what do you think I am? You beat me up earlier, broke my ribs, now you want to come and have relationships with me? What do you think I am? So if these are the explanations of those hittings, clearly it's not permissible to kill a person for not memorizing the Quran. It's not permissible to kill a person. And we do have in our culture the mu'allim who's always hitting the child. Anybody here who went to the madrasa of the Quran when you were young, you had experience where the mu'allim hit you. Some of the mu'allimeen, they go overboard and they break the spirit and they make the person hate al-Islam. Allah mentioned in the Quran, Taha, مَا أَنزَلْنَا عَلَيْكَ الْقُرْآنَ لِتَشْقَى إِلَّا تَذْكِرَةً لِمَنْ يَخْشَى. We have not revealed this Quran, Ya Muhammad, to make things difficult on you or on the child. The boy goes to school, Ikhwani, your child goes to school in the day, to the regular school from 8 o'clock to 3 o'clock. He comes home, 3 o'clock to 3:30. He just changes his clothes, get a bite to eat. He's out the door to go to the madrasa from 4 o'clock to 7:30. That's his day, Monday to Friday. Some days he's going to be able to memorize. Some days he's not going to be able to memorize. Sometime when he's memorizing, he's going to be concentrating. Other times he's not going to be concentrating. No matter how much you want your child to memorize the Quran, you have to take into consideration the whole equation every day. He's doing all of that. The Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam heard a noise at his house. Some people over here were reading the Quran. They said, Allah said in the Quran, and they were reading ayah. And then these people heard it and said, yeah, but Allah said in another place, and they would read some more ayat. The Nabi came out when he heard them becoming upset with each other. They were getting upset. He said to them, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, أَبِهَذَا أُمِرْتُمْ. أبهذا أرسلت اقرأ القرآن ما تلفت عليه قلوبكم فإذا اختلفتم فيه فقوموا. Were you people ordered to do this? You read an ayah and he pushes that ayah, you ordered to do that? Was I sent with that? He said, read the Quran as long as you people are together. And when you start having ikhtilaf, get up and go your own way. So the Quran, ikhwani, we're not even allowed to argue. I hate you, you hate me because of the Quran. Because raf'ul yadayn, I believe you have to do raf'ul yadayn. You believe you don't have to do raf'ul yadayn. I give you my dalil, you give me your dalil. That's it. As for, you don't love Islam, he said, no, you, and that's not what our religion is telling us to do. So if the Quran, if the religion didn't allow us to have ikhtilaf and argument over the Quran, then clearly we can't kill people with the Quran. So I want to make it clear, in our masjid, this masjid, we don't believe and we don't condone. Because what happened when in the newspaper, the way this thing was being projected, was that if Muslims from our way is that we kill our children when they don't memorize. And it's from the sensationalized way that the media reports on the Muslims. Yesterday, there was a lady in Birmingham. She stabbed her mother a few months ago. The mother didn't die. She went and she told her doctor, please section me. Section me. They didn't section her. They didn't put her in a crazy place, in the house, in the mental institution. She stabbed an old lady, a grandmother of 8 people, stabbed her in the street and killed her. How did they report it? They reported schizophrenic woman kills grandmother of 8. That's how they reported it. They gave her an udhr, schizophrenic mother. She was schizophrenic. So we know that the pin has been lifted off of her. The lady who killed her son. No one in his right mind is going to kill their son for not memorizing the Quran. We have to give excuses for people. But the media won't give us excuses. So you young people, all of us, we have to realize that they're going to judge us with a different judgment. We have to be careful about that. And we can't be people who believe everything that the media says. When I received the emails about the lady who they said killed her son, Muslims were saying, may she rot in hell. They should kill her. You don't know what happened. The media, they are the ones who put Muslim woman kills the baby because he didn't memorize the Quran. But when they do things like that, they don't say the Christian lady did this, the Christian man did that, the Sikh man did this. In India, the girl that was raped and murdered, all of the people who did it were Sikhs. They don't say, Sikh boys do this. They don't say that. Christian boy do that. In America, a few weeks ago, the little boy, the young boy who killed those kids in the school, they didn't say Christian boy kills the kids. If that was a Somali kid, la samahullah. If a Somali kid did that, may Allah protect us from that. If a Somali kid had mental problems, and he killed some kids, like what happened in America, the media is going to say Shabab did that. They're not going to say mental problem, this, that. They're going to connect it to our religion. So we have a religion that told us how we should take these issues from the newspaper. Don't be a person who reads the newspaper and you just believe everything the newspaper says, especially when they're talking about the honor of people, the blood and the lives of people. Muslims have to read that, and we take it with a grain of salt. And Imam Ahmad, rahimullah ta'ala, when he went on to the next point that we actually did last week, and he's talking about al-ru'ya yawm al-qiyamah, that you have to have al-Iman in al-ru'ya, seeing Allah yawm al-qiyamah. Wujuhum yawma'idhin nadira, ila rabbiha nadira. We dealt with many of those adillah last week because it's repetition here. We mentioned that before. 2 types of ru'ya. The ru'ya that the believers will see Allah yawm al-qiyamah, as we mentioned in our last class, and it is the biggest ni'mah that Allah bestows upon them. And also the ru'ya of the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Did Rasulullah see Allah or did he not see Allah? We dealt with that. And Imam Ahmad, he mentioned it for a second time. That the people of the Sunnah, they have belief and faith in al-ru'ya yawm al-qiyamah, as it has been established and reported from many ahadith that are authentic, that the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam saw his Lord, and this is what's ma'thur on the Nabi with what is sahih. As Qatada said about Ikrimah, that Ibn Abbas said it. And Al-Hakim ibn Aban, he said that Ikrimah said that Ibn Abbas narrated that the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said it. And as Ali ibn Zayd said that Yusuf ibn Mihran, that Ibn Abbas, he said this in the hadith, and we take these hadith with the apparent. We don't explain them away, we don't mix them up. You say, so the kalam that has come to us about what has come to us, this is what has come to us from the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and to talk about it is an innovation, but we believe in it the way that it came with the zahir. We don't explain it away, and we don't argue about it. Again, we did that because he mentioned it last week. So we're not going to do it again. And in repetition, there is khayr. Then he comes to the new point, al-Iman in the Mizan yawm al-Qiyamah, as it has come in the hadith of the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, يوزن العبد يوم القيامة فلا يزن جناح بعودة. The slave will be weighed yawm al-Qiyamah, will be weighed in the scale yawm al-Qiyamah, and he won't equal the wing of a gnat. And another hadith said, توزن أعمال العباد كما جاء في الأثر والإيمان به والتصديق به والإعراض عن من رد ذلك وترك مجادلته. Because of the issue of the Mizan, is detailed, a lot of things that we have to deal with, about 4 different important issues with the Mizan. We'll leave the Mizan and 3 other issues for next week, inshallah, like the Hawd, as well as Allah Ta'ala speaking to his slaves, Yawm al-Qiyamah. So we'll deal with those 3 issues next week, bi'idhnillah. And as I mentioned, we should be finished with this in the allotted amount of time. We want to apologize to you brothers for missing last week. As we told our brother Fadl, we were lost on the way that we were driving. We tried to drive for the first time by ourselves, and we got lost. And the turn wasn't working correctly. So we want to apologize to you brothers concerning that. Okay, if you have any questions concerning today's issue about the Quran being the kalam of Allah Azza wa Jal, and it's not created from him, it began, to him it will return, you can put your question forward.
Sheikh, you have mentioned that في ظلال القرآن تفسير سورة طه, the author has took a position. Was that with Imam Ahmad or against? His position was in his tafsir.
His tafsir was against what Imam Ahmad is establishing here, because he mentioned that the Quran was created تنزيل ممن خلق الأرض والسماوات العلى. Go back to that tafsir. He said that the Quran was the zahir, like the Qawmeen is being created. So he mentioned that. So it's against what Imam Ahmad is saying. And there's no individual except that he got it right and he got it wrong. We shouldn't be of the people who, my Imam, no matter what he says, I'm going to follow. It must be a ta'wil, it must be a way we can understand it. It was a mistake that should not have been made, and a mistake that scholars came and pointed out that this is something that should be avoided. And everybody makes mistakes. Now, Akhuna.
When it comes to that point, why don't we find other books that the author wrote and compare that this idea he is believing it truly in one sentence? So why will you govern him in the phrase? Assess it from other sorts of books that he has written.
No doubt, when you're being fair and just, when you're munsif, adil, then you have to look at all of what a person is saying to come to a proper conclusion. What does he believe? And it will be oppression to take one thing that he said over here or over there and judge him based upon that. That would be oppressive. So the insaf and the justice of the ulama of hadith is that if, for an example, an innovator, you see consistently he's mentioning his innovation the wrong way. He's mentioning the wrong thing consistently in different books. But over here, he says the truth about about that issue or about an issue. We're not going to say he's a person of the Sunnah just because of this one truth that was consistently being opposed by the other stuff. We say, okay, he got it right, but he's still an innovator. And the opposite was true. Person of the Sunnah, consistently he's saying things that are correct, consistently all over the place. But then he comes and says this thing that's incorrect. We're not going to say he's a person of innovation because of this one thing. He has a well, an ocean of good over here that's going to drown out that thing. And that man has an ocean of evil that's going to drown out that one good thing. So you have to be fair and just. You have to be fair and just. And with this author, we have to be fair and just. And being fair and just is realizing his true manzilah, not having ghulu in him or for him. And these are the problem today. You have the person who is ghulu in him. He's the big scholar. He wasn't a scholar, he was an adib. And that's why we have those mistakes like that. He was an adib. And then the person comes and says, he's worse on this ummah, more dangerous on this ummah than the Dajjal. No. That's ghulu. What are you doing? Take it easy. Take it easy. So we have to be balanced. We can't have that type of ta'assub for or against people. So I don't know, Akhi Kareem, what's his position concerning the Quran? Created, not created. I don't know. I know in this particular place, that tafsir said that the Quran was created. You can go to other tafsirs, which I did not do, other parts of the Quran where in Fi Bilal Quran mentioned these other things to see. Is he saying that or not? Any more questions? One.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Salam.
It's not a question, but just a request. Most of the times when you give a speech, talks, Sheikh, you mentioned there's some scholars' books, the name of the books. Can you do us a help and then make a list of the books that we should study in our life about the parts of the Islam, about fiqh, about hadith, about tafsir or other books? So that would be great helpful to us, because when you give the name and the book, we don't understand sometimes and we can't get these books. If you would make like a few best books in this part that you should read, or 5 books.
And the issues that we're talking about?
Generally, anything.
In this class?
Yeah.
No doubt.
No, Sheikh, not just this class, generally in Islam. That would be amazing for us to study. No
doubt. The scholars of our religion, alhamdulillah, they did their job, and they didn't leave any stones unturned. Wallah alhamd, the person who wants to know his religion, there are basic books that you can learn in general, to learn your religion, and what we're dealing with. Every one of these issues that we've mentioned so far, without any exception, every one of these issues has a book or books that the scholars of the past wrote about that particular issue. Not to mention the people of today as well. Because people of today come, and in order to graduate from the Islamic university, your degree, your master's, your doctor's, your PhD, it may be in one of these issues. How Ahlus-Sunnah look at the Kalam of Allah. How the Mu'tazila look at the Kalam of Allah. And things like every single issue. Scholars, as I told you, each class we mentioned, this scholar wrote that and that book. He wrote this one about that one. The Qadr, Ruqya, all of them. As for general books, how to learn your religion, just general stuff, and we can do that for you, inshallah. We can do that for you. Okay. Any more questions, everybody? Okay, well, we're going to stop here, inshallah ta'ala. I've been invited, actually, to go on this program next Sunday. The program that comes on Sunday is called The Big Question. The Big Question. When I sat down with my masjid and we talked about the issue, the masjid was saying, half of them said, do it. The other half said, no, don't do it. The ones who said, don't do it, they said, if you go, they're going to try to trick you. And if you talk unapologetically, they try to make your words seem like you're crazy and things like that. The other group said, you should go, because we need people who are going to try to articulate the right message without apologizing. I told them, okay, I'll make a decision today. I'm going to make a decision based upon what you brothers say. Because we're supposed to have this class every Sunday. I traveled, so the class was discontinued. I tried to drive here last week with my wife, and she got us lost in the highway. We were in the wilderness. Although we left at 11:30, we were in the wilderness on the other side of the UK, so we didn't come. And that was our fault. Now, if I go to this program Sunday, we can't have the class because I have to go to the program. So I decided to let your position be the determining factor. If you guys suggest go on the program, then I can't come next Sunday. If you say no, come next Sunday, then I'm going to go on the program. So I think this is a fair way, inshallah. Sheikh, dhikrullah.
Thank you. That's very kind of you, Sheikh. Yes, that's very interesting, Sheikh Abu Usamah. May Allah bless you for your...
Sheikh, are you taping us with that thing?
No.
Nah, even if you were, we don't care.
Sorry. Yes, every now and then. Actually, this morning, for instance, the topic subject was is it time for all religions to accept evolution? And more often than not, unfortunately, the Muslims on the panel, the knowledge is very weak. Very, very weak. And I was saying to myself, it's a great opportunity for someone with a good understanding and knowledge of Islam, for instance, to be present, for instance, to be able to counteract where they're coming from. Personally, I think it would be wonderful for you to go, and it will be part of making that. It's an opportunity because the audience is very large, not only in the UK, worldwide. So more programs, people of knowledge, to attend, make active participation in such programs.
Further, what do you think? You brothers are from the Idara and the administration, and when I don't come, you say, where's this guy at? This guy is not coming. Mother tongue. Or I can give you guys a day or two, you can think about it. I'm easy. Whatever you decide, I'm okay.
Have you made istikhara?
Just go. Actually, you go. Go. Just give it an opinion, you know.
There's all sorts of people that go on that program anyway.
Huh?
All sorts of people go on that program. Sufi people go on that, Khariji people go on that, Takfiris go on that, so you might as well try it out. Try it out seriously.
So what's the last kalima? What's the akhir kalam?
Go.
Huh? Or you want to think about it?
You go.
Can I say this first now?
Yeah, you're from our elders, no doubt.
Is that meeting you're going to have is going to be beneficial to us as Islam? Or as a person? You know, if it's a fair or beneficial to us as Islam, we will say go. You know, I think so we should say go. But if it's not beneficial to us as Islam, we should say no. It's not beneficial to us. So
Here's another one of our elders, Sheikh.
Actually, I noticed, I listened to this big question. The only thing I get worried, if they allow you to say something because they are very particular. You find that they allow you, and then you find that you don't even allow to express things.
Well, they can't edit what you say because it's live, it's going to be live. The problem is, and this is why I'm leaving it to you, is because there's good and bad. The good is you can go and you can say the truth. The bad is they may play games and not let you say the truth. And if you want to talk, they cut you off. And if you insist, you look like you're tough and rough and crazy. So if you try to insist, they say, you see how the Muslims are? You see? Your turn is finished, right? And you didn't say what you had to say. So I've seen people in the past where they dealt with them just politically. They played games with them. And then I saw other people didn't know what they were talking about. They always bring a guy on who's a professor in Oxford University. He's always representing Islam. And he doesn't know his elbow from his ankle bone in Islam. And I would say he's a kafir. But I don't make takfeer on people like that. Because he believes he can marry Muslim women to non-Muslim men. And he brags about that on that show. And they always bring it in. Always. And if there's a Muslim who says something, he takes his sword out to chop their head off. He's always rough and tough and mean against Islam. So you had these guys. So I said, okay, there's good and there's bad. So we'll make istikhara, and I said, leave it to them. Community and the rahmah. Maybe Allah will put the rahmah in the decision, and you guys figure that out. So I'm going to wait for an Fadl to let me know a day. If you can let me know, Fadl, no later than tomorrow. Okay?
We'll let you know now.
No, they don't know.
We agree.
Yes, we let you know now.
But it's the administration, though. You know, it's the administration. We're going to study about that when it comes out.
It's not debatable.
About these media shows and things like that, I don't think it would be a good idea.
They won't let you have your say.
You'll be set up, especially on some issues. I would say.
That's my fear.
It's a possibility.
Yes, but Sheikh, I think what can be worse than people parading themselves as Muslim scholars and giving misinformation, and without the other people of knowledge to counter that. What can be worse? So, alhamdulillah, you are eloquent, you have the good command of the language, and you have the knowledge as well, alhamdulillah. I'm sure we have confidence that you can do whatever they throw at you, you'll be able, inshallah. And Allah will be with you as well.
Inshallah, inshallah. Barakallahu feekum.